Two cameras, AMR.
Five Nights at Freddy's goes from 1 second where you see the animatronics as these kind of somewhat lovable, cute things to them trying to murder you, and it's absolutely terrifying.
The genius who created Fazbear Entertainment opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria to indulge in his greatest passion, cutting-edge animatronic technology.
The first time I actually acted with the puppets, that was something that going into it, I was nervous because I was like, am I going to be too in my head thinking about, what am I doing? This is like a puppet thing. But all of a sudden, it felt very real to me, and that really caught me off guard, and thank God it did, because that made my job a lot easier.
That is the magic of puppetry, is they're right there, it's physical, the actors can reach out and touch them, they can really be in the moment, because we're in the moment right there with them. There's no pretending, there's no post, we're all there together creating that scene.
I've been a fan of Jim Henson's work since I was a kid. And to be able to collaborate with the Jim Henson Creature Shop on this movie was a lifelong dream.
There's a lot of stuff that they had to bring to life, and I can't imagine a better team to do it than Jim Henson.
We want to make sure that the fans are getting what they want. So when we're designing, when we're building, when we're covering the costumes, when we're picking colors, designing the eyes, every single aspect, we make sure that we are staying as true to the original IP as we possibly can.
In the early design phases, we've sculpted into those models what we thought would be a functional puppet. Once we had that groundwork, it became more of a software approach.
There's a lot of bits and pieces that can move and shift, and so for a specific shot, you might have to go in and move an arm or move the ears just in the right position so that the camera angle is correct.
They have like different versions of the suit, some that the stunt actors get in and perform with, some that are fully animatronic.
For a character like Foxy, there's a lot of rigging to get him to stand up because he's a full animatronic puppet.
To make Foxy walk, for instance, takes 6 performers. We have one on the head, one on the face, one on the arms, we have 2 on the feet, and then we have one that runs the rig, which pushes up and down and allows Foxy to sort of tilt forward and move his body up and down.
Seeing the character literally come to life in front of you was nothing short of incredible.
So we have some wonderful stunt performers who are inside the costumes and really bring our characters to life.
The most challenging thing about performing as Freddy Fazbear, it's different than just performing as an actor. You're not wearing a costume and performing. You're driving a suit.
The suits aren't super heavy. The head's pretty heavy, but a lot of times we are holding a certain attitude or a certain position for minutes and minutes on end, and that can get a little tiring.
I have a helmet that's about 16 pounds, and I call it a helmet because it's full. I'm in there, and I don't really have any visibility whatsoever.
You look at sort of your silhouette because you can't really see anything, and you can't really move your extremities. You get to walk around in it, you get to see how people react to it, and you start to use your body and really try to articulate character and not just, moving in straight lines.
There's a real symbiotic relationship that goes on between the person in the suit and the puppeteer that's working the eyes and the ears and the mouth. The colors of the eyes and the lights of the eyes are then controlled by the light board, so it's a completely different thing. So there's a real meshing of many different minds and many different people to make a character.
I operate Chica's face, so I have her eye blinks and we're looking around. I have her eyebrows. I have her little, I don't know, we call like expressive feathers on the top. I think one of the interesting things about creating a puppet or a suit character for film and television is that how many people it actually takes to bring together. The first time that we put a suit performer into Freddy, Lynn and company brought some lights. We put on the low lighting and turned Freddy on and kind of had Freddy walk at camera. And I think all of us, Emma included and Lynn and even us who had built Freddy, kind of went, whoa, like, okay, that works.
Not too close. Whoa.
It's been really fun to see the reactions of the people on set when we do the movements.
And just hearing the reactions from people on that, I really like it.
It's been a real eye-opening experience to have a different view of these kinds of animatronic characters.
It's really fun to be able to bring these characters to the next level.
The fact that it had never been taken from the digital world into the practical world, that was the most fun part of the project.
I hope it'll be really fun for the fans to see these animatronics brought to the world in a whole other way.
Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, where fantasy and fun come to life.
The production design team made the most amazing pizzeria come to life in a fully dimensional way.
Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria is this whole new magical world.
One of the challenges doing the adaptation from the game to the film was breaking the walls of the security office in a way. I mean, as the player, when you are playing the security guard and seeing all the rooms via the security cameras, you stay in the same place the whole time. With the movie, we were doing something very different in the sense that we had characters walking around the space.
Whoa. One of the decisions I made early on was to combine all of the rooms and the spaces within the set as one giant set. Normally we would break it up into different sections, and you would have a set for the security office, and you would have a separate set for the dining room. But I wanted everything to be connected. I wanted it to flow.
Basically go from one room to the next continuously without ever reaching a space that didn't feel like the pizzeria, that felt behind the scenes, which made it this completely immersive set for our cast. So raise your hand.
It's scary and kind of creepy.
We really wanted to create this sense of never quite being sure where you are in the hallways and really feeling like you get lost in those back areas. The scale of the space was so incredible and felt so maze-like, which gave us such great opportunities for moving in between the spaces with cameras.
A lot of the discussion with Mark and myself were, where is the light coming from? What motivates light?
What we would create had to do with creating shapes, things that would look good and familiar in silhouette, things that could be backlit, and also things that would only appear for a brief moment.
We're not just shooting in an office building or anything like that. Everything was created and inspired from the game itself.
There are several Easter eggs that we peppered into the movie. For example, the red and white spiral striped cup on the security desk, the crumbled up tinfoil, and the old-fashioned desk fan, which is in every game. In the mall, the ice cream stand that we created, where Mike goes up and buys an ice cream in the very opening scene of the movie, that sign we incorporated the rainbow character, which I think a lot of fans will recognize instantly.
In the toy area, there's a lot of plushies of the Fun Time games.
In addition to that, we tried to do a bunch of new original things. Outside of the security office, there's an Employee of the Month wall. And we've got some photos of a couple of faces that you might recognize if you're familiar with YouTubers who are big fans.
Welcome to Sparky's.
We were lucky enough to have Matt Pat play the waiter in the diner. He's a huge Five Nights at Freddy's YouTuber and just nailed his part. The last day of production, we transformed the whole pizzeria into its heyday pizzeria state. And then we filled the whole space with kids. And it felt really alive in a completely organic way.
We were all excited making this movie and knowing that we're creating this world that this massive fan base from the game are waiting to see.
Prepare to have your mind blown.
With the adaptation of Five Nights at Freddy's, you know going into it that the world is rich and incredible and frightening.
The game is very creepy, it's very intense, and we're trying to bring as much of that as possible into the filmmaking process as well.
I think the film was important to be made because fans have been clamoring for it for a long time, and I am thrilled to finally give them what they want.
Anytime you're bringing something that has such a voracious fan base behind it to life, you have to pay special attention to what the fan base loves about the project. I think the great thing that speaks to what we're trying to do is that there's a lot of attention to detail.
Scott Cawthon, the creator of the game, has been heavily involved.
Scott has been a completely integral collaborator in this process, but also really a tent pole for keeping us on track in terms of the lore and how much to include and the design accuracy of the animatronics and every detail that he has spent over a decade of his life creating.
His input is vital to making sure that it stays true to the world that the fans love and the world that he created himself. Fans can rest assured that we are taking care of their world, taking care of their game, and taking care of these characters.
Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. We're going to have so much fun together.
Everyone instinctively knows on this set that we need to really capture the essence of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Much of the game is through security cameras. And so there's this undertone of something that's observing you, something that's always watching you.
We really wanted it to feel immersive because it's so effective in the game to feel like you are going through each room with all the fear and anticipation of these animatronics popping out of any corner.
It's a super exciting world to play in. In a world like Freddy's, you get to sort of toe this line between wonderment and terror. It's not really one thing or the other.
We were also, trying to find ways to build out a whole unique story in the film that is not necessarily part of the game.
We were able to kind of tap into the world outside of the pizzeria, the human relationships that form the heart and soul of the story, and bring those out in a way that they hadn't necessarily been before.
We knew that we needed to meet the animatronics through people that we cared about and through people that were going through relatable human experiences.
I'm trying my best, Abby, okay? Mike is a guy that really has the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's trying to support his younger sister, be a sort of a father figure while at the same time dealing with his own personal trauma and trying to, in a way, change the past.
They're both coming out of traumatic past experiences. Garrett? And all that past trauma is really haunting them. Garrett! And then they walk into a haunted pizzeria. So, we're able to experience this haunting on so many different levels, both emotionally and externally.
Give me your hand. Joe. My process with Mike was really trying to find a way to make him and his story very grounded. Because the game has such fantastical elements, blending those two worlds together is totally a challenge, but I think with Emma, they've really found a great way to make all those themes and styles kind of blend into one.
Working with Emma, she is the best director ever.
She creates a really collaborative set, which is great when what your character is going through is very stressful.
If he's there, I won't be any use to you, believe me.
I've been jonesing, really coveting an opportunity to get back into the horror genre. Getting a chance to work with Emma has been lovely. I literally, when I'm in that costume, I'm blind, and so I rely on her, very few performances I've ever had in my life, to help me sort of craft this character on the fly, and physically, and how we're telling the story, and where we're at in the lore, and how that applies to, all the information that's out there and available. It all kind of comes through her, and she fills us with what we need.
I think people who have been playing this game It's going to be really exciting for them to see it come to life.
We had 4 YouTubers come in, and the way they reacted when they first walked in, for somebody that had been part of their lives for so long, it was incredible.
You walk onto the set and you feel like you're in the Five Nights at Freddy's pizzeria, not just a normal pizzeria, not just like a replica. You're standing in front of Freddy Fazbear and Bonnie and Chica and Foxy, and they're amazing.
I've never been on a movie set before, and when I arrived here, oh my god, it blew any expectation I had out of the water, and it was amazing.
I've been playing the games for 8 years, and seeing them in real life for the first time ever was such a weird, surreal, fever dream moment to me.
I've been able to walk around, see the kitchen, see the main office, the stage setup, and everything like that, and how true to the game it really is. I think it's going to transition over amazingly well.
It's okay, Mike. You just want to play.
I think fans will find the feeling of the game in a different but also completely related way. I hope we have delivered on some expectations as well as some surprises, and I think we've really presented something new and amazing that'll be exhilarating.